Which of these was used to make imitation coffee during both world wars? Which of these is a phrase that can mean failing to honor an agreement? In darts, what number is nicknamed Annie's Room? Something that seems good but then proves to be harmful is a poison. What? The movable walkway for passengers between a ship and dry land is called what? The Slate Rock and Gravel Company featured in what cartoon set in the Stone Age? The glands in the human endocrine system secrete what? What medal was first awarded in 2013 to World War II veteran? Which of these actors was born in Australia? What name is given to a person who breaks a trade union strike?
Which of these is a thin, crisp biscuit, popularly eaten with cheese? What is the largest amphibian creature in the world? In Sweeney Todd, Mrs. Lovett plans a shepherd's pie peppered with what? What future TV cook was the youngest woman ever to be called to the bar? What is the longest individual distance raced in an Olympic swimming program? The TV drama, Young Harriet, is the prequel to what long-running series about a vet? Leaves and buds from the shrub Camellia sinensis are used to make which drink? The rock group Marillion took its name from a novel by which fantasy writer?
What TV series is called Verbredelsen, or The Crime, in its name? The cast iron figures in Another Place by Anthony Gormley are staring at what? The composer Chopin wrote most of his music for what instrument? I don't want to talk grammar, I want to talk like a lady, comes from which play? In what Shakespeare play do witches appear around a cauldron? In 2012, The Mousetrap reached the milestone of how many West End performances? Hydropower, solar and wind are renewable sources of what? What female-only party is held for a woman shortly before she is married? Which British distance runner became father to twin girls in August 2012? Lady Mary Soames is the daughter of which late Prime Minister? Whose writings popularized the term, survival of the fittest? Formula 1 driver Bruno Senna is what relation to Ayrton Senna? Which European capital city is split into 20 districts called arrondissements? Which ITV talk show host wrote the book, I'm Only Being Honest? Who had a hit in the 1960s with The House of the Rising Sun? Kingsford Smith is the official name of what Australian city's airport? Which Mr. Men character lives in a teapot? In architecture, a rounded dome forming a roof or ceiling is called what? Hitting the slopes is a term for what activity? Lovable drunk Frank Gallagher is the central character in what Channel 4 comedy drama? Which BBC Two game show invited contestants to build their own robots? Which former player became Argentina's football manager in 2008? Meaning, help me, the radio distress signal, Mayday, is derived from what language? Niamey is the capital of what African country? In the TV comedy which Indian family lived at number 42? Approximately how many pet dogs live in the UK? On a clothing care label, the symbol of a letter, P, inside a circle means what? Approximately how many cells are there in the human body? In the Robert Browning poem The Pied Piper drove the rats into which river? Which singer had the first posthumous number 1 single in the UK? On average, how many hairs fall out of a human head each day? The unfinished sculptures called Slaves are by which Italian artist? Which League of Gentlemen performer co-created the TV drama Sherlock? Cribbage is traditionally a card game for how many players? Charles Darwin was born on the same day in 1809 as which future US president? A military attack which accidentally harms one's own people is called what? What does a bolometer measure? The 16th century privateers who defended the Netherlands were known by what name? Which Irishman wrote the line of poetry, yet each man kills the thing he loves? Which Beatles song is also the title of a novel by the Japanese writer Murakami? Who succeeded Walter Winterbottom as England football manager in 1963? Motorway safety signs advise drivers to keep apart 2 feet. Which fashion designer was awarded an OBE in 2013? Sung before rugby union and football matches, what is the unofficial anthem of Scotland? Something described as sibilant makes what sort of sound? Actor Mark Rylance was the first artistic director of which London theatre?